this. Here's the first thing that I want to say.
Okay.
This word that keeps coming up, the future, I find it to be such a fascinating concept. How many of us, and this is a human condition, how many of us think that we've got a real grasp on what's going to happen in the future? I want to try to make this point without sounding irresponsible. If I'm running a business, of course, you always need to keep your future in mind. Like, do you have a 401k?
Yeah.
Great. Keep your future in mind. But my gosh, don't let it own you. Don't let it determine everything you're doing, because how many times do we need to be reminded that we have no clue what the hell is going to be going on 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? So this concept that I keep hearing from people, well, you can't risk the future. What future? Go back 2 years ago and ask yourself if at that time you thought any of what's happening now was possible. The Warriors, we are on Market Street with stuff flying out of the sky.
Yeah, confetti.
If I had said to you, hey, Dibs, 2 years from today, with a healthy roster, the Warriors are going to miss the playoffs. Klay Thompson's going to be big mad. He's going to unfollow the team on social media. And your dreams of the big three never wearing another uniform, a lot of you won't even want that anymore, let alone think it possible. If I had said that to you that day, you'd have stuffed some of those streamers down my throat. You just said, what are you talking about? There's no way that's all going to happen. So this idea that, oh gosh, Kuminga and Moody and Podziemski, because here's what's going to happen in 2027. We have no idea what the whole world, let alone the NBA landscape and the future of these specific players, no clue what the hell's going to be going on then. So that does not mean I'm trying to suggest bleep them, trade them, who cares? That's not what I'm saying. Protect your assets the way you would like to, but don't fall into this trap of thinking you know what the hell's going to happen 2 years from now and that you've got a bird in the hand. You don't. You don't. You, Jonathan Kuminga, I heard a caller on Steiny and Goose say that Moses Moody is a future one. What are we talking about?
Right.
You do not have a bird in the hand.
You can think that.
You can think whatever you want.
Sure.
But the idea that the Warriors have got to, at all costs, protect the future, what does that even mean? What does the word the future even, what does that mean? I have no clue.
Well, it's a construct. And you could look at the 1920 season when Steph got hurt and Draymond quit on the team and you go 15-50. Nobody thought at the end of that year that you would go on to win the NBA Finals 2 years later. And then nobody would have thought, as you mentioned, when we were on Market Street, which was almost 2 years ago to the day. Yep. I know it's 15 years ago to the day that Steph got drafted. So we can talk about June 25th in many different ways today about what this day means, but the NBA Finals parade was about 2 years ago, and yes, nobody would have thought at that point when you and I were live at Market Street that it would have gotten to this point where Klay is mad and probably leaving, and Draymond's got a contract that nobody likes, and Steph's down to 2 years, and Steve Kerr's coaching the Olympic team, and he's talking about shelf life, and you might trade Kuminga, and Dunleavy's in, and Myers is out. None of us would have thought that 2 years ago, but 2 years before that, when they were terrible, nobody would have thought that they would have been a title team. So it's a long way to say exactly what you are saying, which is the future. Nobody knows what the future is. Jonathan Kuminga is either going to be a star, really good, serviceable, terrible. Who knows? Nobody really knows what any of these guys is going to be.
No, but so in other words, if it's me, if you've got assets that you like, if you really love Jonathan Kuminga, if you really love Brandon Podziemski, great, keep them. Keep them. But I really am ready to push back at the idea, and I hear it a lot. I hear it a lot from our listeners. I hear it a lot everywhere. I hear this a lot. I want to push back at the idea of you've got to declare. Why does everyone seem to think you need to make a pick? Old guys or young guys? You don't have to choose. You're allowed to have both. You don't need. So there's got to be an in-between here. I hear this all the time. All in for Steph. Or trade Steph, develop the young guys. My God, to me, the truth is right in the middle of all of that. You're not trading Steph. I find that to be a ridiculous sentiment for hundreds of reasons, some of them basketball, many of them beyond. But you don't have to pick. You're allowed to continue to develop young players within the framework of whatever you're doing. Most teams at any given time are developing someone or something if they're doing it right. But you can also try to win. You don't need to strip the whole thing all the way down to the studs and just pick young guys or be all in and make sure everybody's had a 35th birthday or they're not allowed to have a jersey. Like, none of that exists. So there's plenty of space for Steph Curry and Draymond Green and whoever else, whether it be Klay Thompson and Paul George, Kevin Durant, a lot of people. There's plenty of space for them to still be really good basketball players. And then what else is going on around them? Does Kuminga become 18 a night for sure this year? I don't know. If you want to roll that out, let's roll those dice out, see where they land. But there's plenty of room in between. And so the whole idea of having to declare, I think, is just a figment of our imagination. This idea that 2 years from now, if you do too much for Steph, we're dead in 2 years. You have 2 more off seasons of movement and adjustments and trades and signings and all kinds of things you can do if you make a move now that doesn't go well.
Right, but the move you make now, and many people are fearful of the move you make now involving people who they think will be in 2 years really good core pieces for the future, and that'd be Moody, Pods, TJD, and Kuminga, certainly. So the idea would be, can you make a move now to not sacrifice those pieces or all those pieces and get better now and help Steph now and still not sacrifice the future?
For sure. But that to me sounds like what every team in every sport is dealing with at all times.
Of course.
Which is
get better without giving up your future pieces.
Do we use some young sort of prospect style athletes to do something that we think helps us more right now? This is what the baseball trade deadline is. It's what it is. Every year for every team, and we do this. It gets to late June, and we start going, are we a buyer? Are we a seller? Which do we want to do? Do we give up some young pieces to get the now? So that's just, I don't know, that's just the off season. But I hear a lot of like, you've got to be all in one direction or all in the other. Why can't we do both? I have it's like if they did, I don't want them to trade Kuminga. I hope he's still a Warrior. I think he will be. But if Moody is involved in a deal, and here's the other one, a pick. Oh, everyone is freaked out about, don't give up your picks.
Wow.
Your picks.
Give up your picks.
I mean.
Give up your picks, because if you're halfway decent and you're not in the lottery, your pick is almost meaningless. And look at the NBA history of the first round. It's usually the best players come in the top 8, the top 10, the lottery. Even look at the Warriors in the lottery. Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody. Wiseman looks like he might be a bust. Kuminga, we'll see. Nice pick at number 7, and we'll see if he turns out to be an all-star, let alone a superstar. And Moses Moody, he's a nice rotational player at 14. Those are your 3 lottery picks.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Pods, not lottery. TJD, not lottery.
Not even first round.
Not as good, but close enough.
Good.
Right?
I mean, for a rookie,
exactly.
I like him. I like these players a lot. I
like the pick.
Yeah, I like these players. I hope they're a part of the future. Am I listening, though? If you offer me something that clearly makes me better and more interesting right now, of course I would listen. I think everything, like we were so comfortable with this phrase 4 months ago. Everything's on the table. We were so comfortable with it. And now everybody's all tight because we're here. Oh, I don't like any of this. Well, a lot of people, you got to bring Klay back. You can't do that. And you can't, Moody and Pajemski, and God save anybody who brings up the word Kuminga. No, we can't do any of that. Well, then let's just do it again.
Right.
Let's just be the 10 seed again and don't complain. if when the Warriors don't get any better. I am so unconcerned with 2027 because just thinking about that parade made me realize how long of a period of time that is. 2 years. How much in your life is the same right now as 2 years ago?
Well, everything, Mark.
Nothing.
Well, let me think about 2 years ago today, 6/25/2022. I was getting to know a new partner. I was working in a different building. I was 5 months away from getting married. I was engaged, and my fiance was pregnant with my third child as a 53-year-old man. So, yeah, a few things were different. Oh, and I lived in Oakland. I had yet to buy a house. So between June 2022 and the end of 2022, I had another baby, got married, and bought a house. 3 life events in 5 months.
Pretty special.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That would be like trading Kuminga, losing Clay, and acquiring Paul George.
Yeah, and you can email me or tweet me or text me if you want me to tell you what's different in my life over the last 2 years. Not going to do it into a microphone, but I'm just going to tell you.
You won't.
Oh my God!
Between me and you, there's been like 11 life events between the two of us.
So and maybe we are maybe I'll admit this. Maybe we're showing our age here. Maybe this is because we got a few rings on our stump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Sorry. I mean, maybe it is.
Oh, I can't talk about herpes, but he can talk about people's stump.
I mean, a tree.
Whatever.
A tree. A tree stump.
My bad.
My fault. The rings on the tree stump.
Yeah. I gotta start playing drops again.
I left the word tree out. Anyway, maybe that we're showing our age on that one because we've lived long enough to know that when you sit here and think you know what the future holds, you don't. You don't. I'd love to hear from somebody. Anybody who has had this thought, called our station, tweeted us, texted us, anything in the last handful of months. Oh, it's time to develop. It's time to go all in on the future of Warriors basketball. Can you put a time length on that? What is the future? What are you worried about?